Hi, today I'm going to do my story in the bag speech. Right now, I'm a basketball coach. I coach for a Nike-sponsored AAU basketball team, it's the Truth EYBL. So we go on several trips throughout the year. Everything is sponsored. And then I also coach at a prep school or post-grad with high school age students, and we travel all over the country as well. Everything is sponsored and taken care of as well. But it wasn't always like that. I started coaching at a middle school in a neighborhood and just working with the local kids. And every year, the biggest tournament of the year is a tournament in Las Vegas called the Fab 48. So I'm going to talk about my first trip to the Fab 48, and I have 3 items in the bag that represent that trip. The first item is this jersey. So now when I go to tournaments, we get brand new Nike jerseys, brand new Nike shorts, shoes, socks, all the gear you can think of. But back then there was no sponsorship. So that first tournament that we went to, I thought that we would be getting new uniforms from a neighborhood sponsor. That fell through. So at the last minute, I had to find uniforms. The only uniforms that I could find, rush order, were these 2X uniforms for 16-year-old kids. I did have some big kids on my team, but the majority of them were smalls, mediums, larges. So that whole weekend when we went to games, we had our uniforms, humongous shorts, huge jerseys. Kids were rolling up the shorts, but they went out there regardless of how they looked and played their hearts out. The next item I have is a set of keys. So this is my current van key. Back then I had a different van, and that van was an old Chevy van, I think a 1998 van. And it was 15 passenger. And on this specific trip, we drove through the night, and right before we got to Las Vegas, the van broke down. So we went into our first game. We had the van towed into a Pep Boys. 3 of the players had to stay in the van, and myself, my wife, and my daughter got into the tow truck with the tow truck driver, and we got towed into a Pep Boys. We ended up going to get an additional van from the airport, and that's how we got around that weekend. The van is actually still in Las Vegas at that same Pep Boys probably. With all that being said, we eventually went in and checked into the hotel. The hotel was terrible as well. I don't have anything in my bag to represent that, but the hotel was terrible. So everything that could go wrong went wrong. We lost our first game, but from there we started to win. That next day we got a good night's sleep, and we got on a roll. And that same group of kids, they won one game turned to 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, and I think we won 7 games in a row, and we eventually were in the championship. So in the championship, we were up, and it looked like we were going to win that game, and we ended up losing the game. We ended up losing by, I think, 3 points or something like that, and for a second I was upset, but at that same time, like right in the middle of everything, the post-game handshake, I was able to reflect, and I just kind of smiled and I laughed about everything that we had been through on that trip and how much it took to get us there. And, you know, after the tournament, you take a picture with the tournament director, and he gave us a plaque. And every single thing on this plaque, which is the last item on my bag, is incorrect. So it says 17U silver. We were in the 16U invitational. We made it to the gold bracket, which is the top bracket. This says the bronze. We were the runner-up, so that's right. And then the year is 2016, but the tournament was actually a 2015 tournament. So every year since then, I've been back to that same Fab 48, and I've been to either the Final Four or the championship, where you also get a plaque, but I just give that plaque away. And this is the one I keep, and I keep it in my living room because it helps to remind me how far I've come, how much basketball means to me, and how special this trip was. On that trip, several of those kids ended up playing Division I basketball or football. So that specific team was one of my first teams, and they'll always have a special place in my heart. Thanks.